All right, now, Taps, come up here. Can we get this on as well, Jody, so Taps can speak? Now, I've asked Tapelo to stay around for a little bit because I want to pester him about his sermon. And I want to ask you some questions. You go to the microphone there so they can hear you. I want to ask him some questions about what he did in his sermon because I think it's really important, right? Because this is why you're here, right? Because Taps did some really important things in his sermon and he did it for some really important reasons. But I don't know if any of you even noticed. Did you notice? Did anyone notice? What did Tapelo read when he did his Bible reading at the start? Did anyone pick up on it? Who was reading along with it? Jasmine, what did he read? He did that. That is part of the Bible, right? That's part of the Bible. They're not things we add in. That's part of the Bible. But what version of the Bible did he read? Was anyone reading along? NIV what? NIV what? There are two different NIVs. NIV, the latest NIV, NIV 2011. Yeah? Anybody notice? That's what? You're probably right though, right? NIV 2011. Now, you don't have it with you anymore. Somebody grab NIV 2011 for me. If you're reading the Bible on your phone, that's what it'll be. NIV 2011. Hey? It'll just be called the NIV on your phone because you can't get the old one anymore. Yeah. Okay, so someone read those verses out for us because this is actually really, really super important. NIV 2011, read the verses like 3 onwards. Josh, you got it? Is that NIV? No. Verse 3. Okay, pause. What is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you care for them. Okay, anybody got an old NIV Bible in print that they're reading? Anyone got an ESV? Right? Read us the ESV. What does it say? Okay, read it. Yeah. Okay. What is mankind that you're mindful of them? What is man that you mindful of him? The Son of Man that you care for them. Son of Man that you care for him. Now, Taps, when you read the Bible reading, you read from the NIV 2011.
Yeah.
Then when you preached, anyone notice it? When you preached, you kept saying him.
Yeah.
And you were preaching from him.
Yeah.
Now, them or him? Why did you do that? Why did you switch?
Because the older NIV is closer to the original.
Or the ESV? Why is it closer to the original? What's different?
Because it is actually the singular.
It's a singular in the Hebrew, right? It is a singular. So the NIV has gone and they've said, listen, we've got to get rid of all this masculine language in the Bible. We've got to get rid of all the hymns, right? Because it's not PC enough. We've got to be gender neutral. Seriously, this is what's going on, right? The NIV said, let's make our Bible gender neutral. Part of the policy when they revised the old NIV that was published in 1984 and published the new version of the NIV, which is in 2011. One of their policies was to make it gender neutral, right? Now, a lot of times that doesn't make any difference, right? Because it's fine. Plenty of times when the Bible says brothers and we translate it to brothers and sisters, that's okay, because we do want to include, we don't want to make people exclude. And when Paul addresses the church and he says, brothers, my beloved brothers, he's not meaning just the men, right? Like, he is meaning the whole church and the ladies as well. So that's fine. But when we will go holus bolus down this gender neutral road, we end up doing things like this. They, instead of him.
Because Hebrews does make it clear that it is referring to Christ. So that going back to the original and seeing it in that way makes sense of what Hebrews goes on to say and refers to Christ.
Okay, so you took us to Hebrews chapter 2 at the end of your sermon, showed us how Hebrews chapter 2 takes Psalm 8
Yeah.
and actually uses it as a prophecy for Jesus, right?
Jesus, yeah.
And shows that it finds its fulfillment in Jesus.
Yeah.
In who? In
him.
him.
Yeah.
Can you see what just happened, right? The NIV, with their efforts to make it into a gender-neutral kind of approach to the scriptures, just took out a prophecy from the Bible. It no longer points to a specific person. It no longer points to Jesus. Now it's just they. It's us in general, right? But now we've lost that. And your sermon was a really great example of how important it is to learn the original languages, right? Very much so. And Psalm 8 is a great example of it, right? Okay, because Psalm 8, we've gone and our Bibles are now they. And in doing so, we've lost the idea that that actually points us to Jesus. It's the him, the individual him who was made greater than, who was made lower than the angels and who all glory abounds before. It's him, Jesus. He is the Son of Man. Now, we've lost all of that, right? By going to the NIV 2011. And if you don't know the original languages, Greek and Hebrew, right, then you've lost all that too. See how important it is to be here? Taps,
Yeah.
you didn't even know it, but you were giving these guys an object lesson.
Yeah.
You did it deliberately, didn't you? Yeah. No,
No,
thanks.
no, I
Yeah.
actually didn't.
Yeah.
If I had the old NIV, the 1984, I would have read from that. But I don't. It's non-existent anymore. They've phased it out for some reason.
That's why if you ever get your hand on an old NIV 1984, you never let it go.
Yeah.
That's why when 2011, when I was a pastor of a church, and I started looking at this new version that's coming out, and I looked at some things like Psalm 8 and others. Genesis chapter 1 is another example where it all just goes bad, right? It all just goes bad. Genesis 1, I didn't have to read past the first page to realize something went wrong here, right? But I went out that day and I bought like 100 NIV 1984s before they all disappeared so that I could have them in my church. Because this matters, right? This matters. Yeah. Taps, thanks for giving us a perfect example of that and explaining that with us and talking us through what you were thinking when you were doing that. But you guys don't pay enough attention. Didn't you hear him say that? You should be sitting there going, but hang on, when you read it out, it said they, but you kept saying him in your talk. Why do you keep changing? Well, that's why, because Taps is a good Bible scholar. Awesome. Thank you, brother. All right. Now, can you see why it's important to learn the original languages? Yeah? That's massively important, right? That's massively significant. We just lost a prophecy to Jesus that actually is explicitly fulfilled in Hebrews 2 and pointed back to even. And yet we still just go they, not him, because we want to be gender neutral. That's a problem. Okay, so learn your original languages. That's why we're here, right? To read the Bible in high definition, to make sure we don't make that mistake, right? So that when we're reading Psalm 8 and we're preaching on Psalm 8, we're going to do what Tapello did, and we're going to make sure that we help people understand that that's not just about us. It is about us. It's right to say this is human dignity. But at the same time, it's pointing specifically to the human, the Son of Man, whose glory is above all the rest and who rules, right? Right now, we don't see it, but what we see is Jesus Christ and him exalted, right? Okay? So we've got to get there. Okay, now, you just keep talking and talking and talking, because the more I talk, the less you have to do a vocab test. But we can't just put it off forever, people. It's not going to go away. So, you know the drill. It's vocab test time. Oh, look, you guys have done so well. So well. It's vocab test time, and you're like, oh, Steve, why are you doing this to us? Steve's doing it to you because Steve loves you. That's why. And tomorrow, it's going to be worth 20%. So let's get onto it today, hey? Let's do that. Let's get onto it today. So, vocab test accounts, no duffs, no vocab cards, no phones, no nothing around. Show me what you got. Daggone. Get rid of them vocab cards. It's too late now, brother. It's too late now. If you don't know it now, you make sure you know it tomorrow morning.